Finally, after weeks of trying and weeks of frustration, I finally got all the 15 Blacklist cars. And today, I'm going to change them to what they should actually be. Now, saying this right now, I understand why the cars are the way they are. Using the existing characters from Unbound and wrap them into the original Blacklist cars. Basically kind of like a tribute. But this is more on my hypothetical version of if the Blacklist were to be rebooted or brought back into a modern setting, 20 years later. Saying this right now, there might be a chance that whatever vehicle that I have customized here may be the same one that you have customized. And if that's the case, hey, we just so happen to have the same exact idea to what we envision it to be. And as for deliveries, I did not make any of these, so credit goes to the original people that have uploaded them. And it's only going to be from Sunny to Bull because the M3 is just too iconic to be replaced. And unless if there's an existing race car that BMW has today that could be a good replacement for the M3, it's going to stay as is. Or something better. And starting up with the 15 guy on the Blacklist, he was given a Honda Civic over a Golf GTI that he drove in the original game. Now, it would make more sense for Sunny to have the GTI again since we do have the car in Unbound, the 2016 variant, but to me honestly, I'm kinda digging the Civic for him. And I'm saying that because I can see him driving the Civic if we were to fight our way to the top of the Blacklist and this is the first opponent that we face against. It just makes sense for Sunny to be driving something like this at the bottom of the list. So yeah, I'm okay with the Civic. But also be okay with the GTI, but for my scenario, Civic it is. Now, not just for Taz, but also for Vic, but let's start out with Taz first. This is not an EA issue that they can't get Toyota. It's a Toyota issue that they do not want to be in Need for Speed anymore. And I understand, in a way, why the E30 was chosen for Taz, since, to me at least, it kind of resembles the IS300 in body shape. But for my version of the Blacklist here, I will give him a BRZ for this one. Because if we were to upgrade, he will definitely go from an IS300 to something like a GT86, but the closest thing we have to that is the BRZ, so this is it. And kind of in a way, this is the closest we'll get to Toyota since the BRZ is the same as the GT86. Now for Vic, I'm not replacing anything with him with the 350Z. He can stay as is with the car. And I can definitely see Victor driving a 350Z in the original Most Wanted. That's of course saying if EA didn't have any licensing issues with Nissan at the time. So really, this is a perfect replacement for the Supra. And speaking of Nissan, I have a problem with this. Izzy in a GTR. It's the fact that she has a GTR while being this low on the Blacklist. It just doesn't make sense for a car like the GTR 35 to be this low on the Blacklist, not to mention what's ahead of that car. Besides another GTR, but I'll talk about that one later. For Izzy, she can go back to the RX-8 that she had originally. Personally, I would give her an RX-7 as I see it more of an upgrade rather than a downgrade compared to the RX-8. And I can't find delivery anywhere in the game that anyone has made for the RX-7, so she's still fine with the RX-8 regardless. And I'm also dealing with error code 9 as of the time that I'm recording this video, so yeah, I can't really do much at the moment. For Big Lou, this is a perfect one right here. The GSX, that's a perfect replacement right here. You may call it a downgrade, but this is really an upgrade. Well, of course, that's saying that the original Eclipse that was in the Most Wanted isn't even here. I mean, hell, I wish this Eclipse was in Most Wanted. Now, besides having a GTR very low on the Blacklist, I also have another problem with this list here. Convertibles. If there was one thing that was consistent with the Black Box games, besides Hot Pursuit 2, is that there were no convertibles in any of the games. From Underground to The Run. And even if there was a convertible vehicle in those games, they had their roof on. All the time. And look, this all comes down to preference, but honestly, it should have just been the Cayman GT4 for Baron. Because I like to keep the consistency of every car being a fixed roof. It doesn't make sense for any of them to be a convertible. Sure, times change, but it just doesn't feel right to have any Blacklist member to be a convertible. You know, seeing Earl with a GT3, I can finally say that rubber banding that he had in the original game makes more sense now. I didn't experience it, but I can see it. But seeing Jules as an A+ and Earl as an S for this version of the Blacklist, I will have to knock Earl down to an Evo again. Not the same Evo that he had in the original game because that's not here, but either an Evo 9 or 10 will be better for him. Especially the Evo 9 since it's the closest we're gonna get to the Evo 8. And that also keeps another thing consistent that was in the original Blacklist, that both Big Lou and Earl drove cars that were from the same manufacturer, different models. For Jules, this Mustang is a perfect upgrade for her. I don't know what it is why we can't get the S197 Mustang anymore, but this is a perfect upgrade for her, having the S550. And it will still be a perfect upgrade if the Blacklist were to be remade back in the 2010s. But something that's not a perfect upgrade again, it's Kaze or Kaze or Namikaze. Back in Most Wanted, she drove a COK 500, and the closest thing to that in Unbound will be the C63, which they did give that to her, but they gave her the Cabriolet. So, just simply gave her the C63 Coupe, because no convertible should be in the Blacklist. The Murcielago isn't a bad choice for Ming since the car was also in Most Wanted. Well, before the Super Veloce variant existed. But the Huracan would have been a perfect choice, and I mean, it would have been a perfect choice for Ming to utilize, since of course it is the successor to the Gallardo. And this is saying like, if Ming were to have the Murcielago originally in 2005, then he will have an Aventador today. Or he would just straight jump into a Countach, 2021 Countach. For this pencil neck here, he's alright with the C8. You could give him a C7, but a C8 still fits him. It's still a Corvette. Might be more recent, of course, but it still has some years on its production run. But honestly, there's nothing wrong with him having a C8 in this list, and even in my hypothetical list. For JV, damn, he got an upgrade. All the money he was getting at the clubs, shoo, it was all paying off to get this Ferrari over here. But on a serious note, I'd say he will be suited all back to a Viper again. The 5th gen to be specific, because I don't know what it is why we can't put the other generations of Viper in Need for Speed today. But it just suits him better, and it was still more iconic when he had a Viper originally. Not saying the LaFerrari is a bad choice, but I'd say a Viper just suits him more better, especially considering what else is up ahead. I've mentioned this earlier that I'm okay with Blacklist members driving the same manufacturer but different car models. I'm not okay with Blacklist members literally driving the same exact car, manufacturer and model, in the Blacklist. Because it makes more sense for Ronnie to be here in the top 5 with a GTR than what Izzy is below the top 10 with a GTR. But Ronnie with a GTR, give him a DB11. Just give him a DB11. And if you were gonna say something like a Vulcan, no, that's way too much. Way too much. DB11 is just perfect for him. Perfect successor to the closest thing we're gonna get to a DB9. And last but not least, Bull. Remember that phone call that Raj gave you about this chum's driving a McLaren? Now it makes more sense. He's actually driving a McLaren. Now, for me, he will be okay as he is right now with the 600 LT. You could give him a P1, but for me it's just too much still, considering what else is on the Blacklist. But honestly, I would give him a 720S, but since that isn't in Unbound, this is the best we can do here. And of course, there's the AMG GT and the AMG GTR that he could have, which those are solid options, I'm not gonna lie. But the way that I'm seeing it, considering where he is in the Blacklist, no, it just makes more sense to have a McLaren now, instead of just sticking with Mercedes. And yeah, that's my interpretation of the Blacklist. So remember, this was all hypothetical and this is all in my opinion. You're welcome to disagree or agree as you wish. So anyways, that's it, and see you in the next video.